We follow the sound of the bell with our awareness to the sacred silence within.
Pray with me now as we offer our gratitude for this beautiful spring morning in all its glory and splendor, reflecting the abundance and beauty of our Creator. We give thanks for our families and friends and of all those who came before us. Today we remember and honor all men and women who gave their lives in war times in which they fought and died. We pray for the awakened and peaceful hearts in all humans. For this space in which we sit to prepare our minds and hearts for communion with the peaceful presence of the Great Spirit, and for our new space being lovingly prepared by many hands. Let us take a breath in and pause, and breathe out to release our worldly concerns and noise of the world. Take another deep breath and pause, and breathe out and release to still our minds, our emotions, our soul, and connect deeply with the peaceful presence within and all around us. Joining in celebration of our unity with the Great Spirit of love, light, and life, in whose image and likeness we are individually and gloriously made and worthy of all goodness. In community we rest in the peaceful presence I call God to deepen our connection to the ground of our being and to one another in an atmosphere of peace, harmony, kindness, and well-being. Our wholeness shines in us, upon us, and through us for our greatest and highest good. In this stillness, we listen deeply on the wisdom revealed as Chris Johnson shares his inspired words on sacred disruption and its impact on our soul's journey. With a calm mind, an open heart, and a thirsty soul. In faith and trust, we know our prayer is answered even before it is spoken, for it rests in the mind of God. And what is in the mind of God is bound to come forth in divine order and timing. Knowing there is power in these words to manifest what is needed in our lives, we place our words into the creative process of intelligence, power, substance. With the utmost thanksgiving and gratitude, I close my prayer, release it, and call it done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Aho, Ashe, Satu.
Thank you, Chris, for opening our gathering with such a beautiful prayer. Well, good morning and welcome. Welcome if you're online too. My name is Chris Johnson and I'm a prayer practitioner serving Mystic Heart Spiritual Center. We're an independent interfaith community that teaches universal principles and practical spirituality. And we open our hearts and our doors and welcome, trusting that you will be led to the guidance and wisdom of your own mystic hearts, where your answers lie. So please join me as we begin by joining our voices in musical prayer. As we welcome you home to your mystic heart. Welcome home to your mystic heart. Lay aside whatever came before. wishing star, to guide you to heaven's door. Welcome home to your mystic heart. Lay aside whatever came before. Get your own intuition star to guide you to heaven's door. To guide you to heaven's door. To guide you to heaven's door. We are one in this life, all connected, hearts open wide. In our loving kindness, God is always reflected. Let love be the guide. We are one in this life, all connected, hearts open wide. In our loving kindness, God is always reflected. Let love be the guide. We are one in this life, all connected, hearts open wide. In our loving kindness, God is always reflected. Let love be the guide. Let love be the guide. Let's begin our Taizé this morning by centering ourselves in gratitude for the multitude of gifts we are given this day. I invite us to take a long, slow breath in. Imagine filling your heart with love. And exhale that love into the world. Center yourself in the divine presence and release anything and everything that came before. Abide in the peace of the presence of Spirit. I invite you to remember with me now that all of creation is the expression of that one Spirit. The universe is the body of God. Each one of us is a unique fiber in the beautiful tapestry of life. Each one a strand of consciousness weaving in and out of one another to reveal the greater splendor of our essential unity. This morning we connect in consciousness with each other, with our plant and animal siblings, with our Mother Earth, her waters, her minerals, her mountains, her weather, with our grandfather sky, his clouds, his stars, his planets, his galaxies. All expressions of the infinite nature of Spirit, each absolutely necessary to the whole. As we acknowledge that we are all of one essence, one substance, one source, we grow in compassion, empathy, and understanding. And firmly grounded in this awareness, we recognize that all that we offer into the world in thought, word, or action necessarily affects the whole. So with our hearts and minds consciously centered in Spirit, our collective prayer and meditation leave an imprint of peace and love on human evolution and on the world for all time. Take a moment to simply bask in the grace we are radiating. This month, we have been contemplating what it means to create and live in beloved community. Today, we explore what that beloved community might look like in its active endeavors to create a love-soaked world, and how these activities might just lead to sacred disruption. So what is sacred disruption? In creating the beloved community, Reverend Jim Lockard writes, calling upon deep spiritual principles which are then ingrained through spiritual practice can lead to disruption. The idea is to disrupt the level of thinking that is currently embodied and create a space for a new, higher, more spiritually attuned level of thinking and belief to emerge. Sacred disruption changes us from the inside out. We can never return to our old way of being. We can't unknow what we know. And living authentically from this newfound consciousness, we interact differently with other people, with non-human beings, with the environment, and with all the rest of creation. We may find that we can no longer give in to business as usual when that participation harms others. We can no longer support companies that exploit people, animals, or the earth. We may choose to stop being part of the problem and dedicate ourselves to becoming part of the solution. The first evidence of sacred disruption is that it disrupts our way of life. The inner change always alters our outer behavior and our outer experience. Some of us may be called into spiritually motivated activism. In his book, The Mystic Heart, Brother Wayne Teasdale outlines 9 elements essential to a universal interspirituality. One of these elements he calls the prophetic voice. The prophetic voice refers to spiritual leadership in the area of social justice. Like the prophets of the Hebrew Scriptures, the spiritually awakened have a responsibility to respond in beneficial ways whenever and wherever we see injustice. Consider the words of the Hebrew prophet Jeremiah. Thus saith the Lord, execute ye judgment and righteousness, discrimination and justice, and deliver the spoiled out of the hand of the oppressor. And do no wrong, do no violence to the stranger, the fatherless, nor the widow, neither shed innocent blood in this place. Or from Isaiah, listen, learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, and plead the widow's case. And Micah, he has shown you, O human, what is good. And what does Yahweh require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God? Seven centuries later, a young rabbi named Yeshua from Nazareth picked up the thread. In truth, I tell you, insofar as you did good to one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did it to me. And insofar as you neglected to do this to one of the least of these, you neglected to do it to me. And it wasn't just the Judeo-Christian tradition that valued justice. 4 centuries before Yeshua's time, Lao Tzu wrote, "As it acts in the world, the Tao is like the bending of a bow. The top is bent downward, the bottom is bent up. It adjusts excess and deficiency so that there is perfect balance. It takes from what is too much and gives to what is not enough." A full millennium after Lao Tzu, the Prophet Muhammad would write in the Quran, "Have we not given them 2 eyes, a tongue, and 2 lips, and shown them the 2 ways of right and wrong? If only they had attempted the challenging path of goodness instead." And what will make you realize what attempting the challenging path is? It is to free a slave, or to give food in times of famine to an orphaned relative, or to a poor person in distress, and, above all, to be one of those who have faith and urge each other to perseverance and urge each other to compassion. The call to justice is a common thread in all of the world's religions. But protesting the status quo will never change anything. It is not enough to stand against something. The spiritual universe is not the least interested in what we don't want. We will only receive divine empowerment when we stand in support of the greater possibility of our highest vision of what can be, the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible.
Mother Teresa was once asked why she didn't take part in anti-war demonstrations. She said, "I will never do that. But as soon as you have a pro-peace rally, I'll be there." She understood the importance of consciously placing our energy, time, and attention on those things we wish to have or experience in our lives and in the world. It may seem like such a fine line. We may think that attending an anti-war demonstration is a stand for peace, a step toward peace. But is it really? Words are so powerful, and the energy behind them is creative. Against implying opposition, resistance. War implying conflict or violence. Now consider the words pro, in favor of, moving toward, and peace, freedom from disturbance, distress, or violence. And rally, to bring or come together. These 2 phrases bring different sensations to our bodies and send different messages to the universe. On the one hand, resistance and conflict. On the other, embracing peace. Sometimes it seems easier to know what we don't want than what we do want. What we are against, rather than what we are for. But the mystics across the ages warn us that Creator, Great Spirit, God, only knows yes, always says yes. This is spiritual principle What we put out comes back. What we give attention to expands in our experience. In our 3 minutes of sacred silence this morning, I invite you to reflect. Are there places in your life that you are against something or someone? How could you reframe your view so that the focus of your attention shifts to what you want more of? How could you change the way you see what you'd like to see in the world? Holy One, infinite intelligence, thank you for your sacred presence in this place, for your guidance, inspiration, and love, for your holy people who are here in beloved community, for this reminder that our words are creative, our intentions and how we state them matter. May we never forget the power of our intention. May we remember who and whose we are and what we stand for. And may we walk in that truth, living from our highest capacities and motivations in every moment. May we embody peace, love, and compassion, and express them in our daily lives. As Taizé continues, we are inspired by Chris's message. We take it in, fully receiving, allowing ourselves to be transformed, willing to live our lives in sacred disruption to the status quo in the creation of a love-soaked world.
Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Buddhist sage of our time, reminds us that mindfulness must be engaged. Once we see that something needs to be done, we must take action. Seeing and action go together. Otherwise, what is the point in seeing? Rabbi Yeshua's parable of the Good Samaritan, as told in the Gospel according to Luke. The Good Samaritan helps a man who was mugged along the Jericho road. And that story compels us to action in the face of suffering. But that compassion must also lead to action. The priest and the scribe both walked right by, maybe moved to compassion, maybe not. Luke doesn't tell us. But the Samaritan was moved to action. 20 centuries later, that thread is picked up again, this time by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We are called to play the Good Samaritan on life's roadside. But that will only be an initial act. One day the whole Jericho road must be transformed so that men and women will not be beaten and robbed as they make their journey through life. True compassion is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. It understands that an edifice that produces beggars needs restructuring." As spiritually illumined human beings, we are called not only to call out injustice when we see it, but to do all that we can to alleviate the suffering it causes. We are called to feed our unsheltered siblings, but it doesn't stop there. As Dr. King said, we have to do more than address the immediate need. We must challenge the very systems that permit and promote racial, social, economic, and gender-based discrimination. Unity Minister Jim Rosemergy tells us that action without prayer and meditation leads to exhaustion. Prayer and meditation without action leads to self-absorption. Human beings are meant to swing between contemplation and action, from imagination to realization, from being into doing. But our doing must be inspired by the gifts received in our spiritual practices. This allows us, as Jim Lockard puts it, to bring the best versions of ourselves to our work in the world. For our prayer to close this morning's Taizé, I'm excerpting Ernest Holmes' Sermon by the Sea, which he gave at Asilomar in the summer of 1959. Find me one person who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of their soul, and I will find another Savior, another Jesus, and an exalted human being. Find me one person who no longer has any fear of the universe, or of God, or of humanity, or of anything else, and you will have brought to me someone in whose presence we may sit and fear shall vanish as clouds before the sunlight. Find me someone who has redeemed their own soul, and they shall become my redeemer. There is a power transcendent beyond our needs, our little wants. Demonstrating a dime is good if one needs it, or healing oneself of a pain is certainly good if one has it. But beyond that, at the real feast of the tabernacle of the Almighty, in the temple of the living God, in the banquet hall of heaven, there is something beyond anything that you and I have touched. Find 1,000 people who know that and use it, and the world will no longer be famished. How important it is that each one of us, in our own simple way, shall live from God to God, with God, in God, and to each other. That is why we are here. And we are taking back with us, I trust, a vision and an inspiration, something beyond a hope and a longing, that the living Spirit shall through us walk anew into its own creation, and a new glory come with a new dawn. I give thanks for that day when the sun will rise on a new earth, a love-soaked world in which all beings and all of creation is loved and respected as expressions of their divine Creator. Heaven on earth, world without end. Let it be. Amen. That gets me. I invite you to return your awareness to your body and to this time and place. When you feel ready, gently open your eyes and allow your gaze to take in whatever is before you. Feel free to look around and say good morning to your spiritual family, everyone here celebrating with you this morning. This is your spiritual support system, people who care about you and are there for you. Everybody wave at everybody.
Hello, Dave.
We have an online.
Oh, there's an online Dave, too.
It's that omnipresence thing. You know?
Oh, ever-present Dave.
All right. So at the close of our Taizé meditation every Sunday, we offer the opportunity to share of your financial good in support of the work we do, should you so choose. If you're joining us online, you can find a donate button on our homepage at mysticheart.org, or our mailing address is there too if you prefer to send a check through the mail. And we thank you in advance for your gifts. Earlier in Taizé, we cited a quote from the Hebrew prophet Micah. He's considered a minor prophet, but that's not because what he had to say was minor. It's because his book was shorter than the other prophecies. But here's a musical version of that verse from our buddies Monroe Crossing.
About a year ago, we were playing at a church in northwestern Wisconsin, and we saw this verse inscribed in a wall hanging, and Mark and I were talking about it, and just, the message is such a favorite for so many people, and we thought it would translate well into a bluegrass tune. So we hope you enjoy our interpretation of Micah 6:8. To understand, we hate in turns, we never learn. An eye for an eye leaves both blind, a pound of flesh for an ounce of crime, and no one wins. The wheel just spins. He has shown you, oh man, what is good. What does Yahweh require of you? Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Let mercy fall like gentle rain without without strain when grace is real. We all can heal. When we forgive another's debt, we free ourselves to love, and yet we honor those we miss the most. He has shown you, oh man, what is good. What does Yahweh require of you? Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. This light of mine is not my own, it shines from these few seeds I've sown on just terrain. Will mercy reign? He has shown you, oh man, what is good. What does Yahweh require of you? Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly, humbly with your God. Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
Snappy little TV that was.
Boy, they bring a lot to Bluegrass, don't they? Oh, so thank you for these gifts. Thank you, Spirit, for the prosperity, this prosperous universe that we live in. Thank you to each one here for focusing that prosperity into your life and into the life of Mystic Heart. We pledge to steward these funds wisely and to further the work that we're doing to enrich our greater community as well. So thank you, God, thank you to each one here, and so it is. So it is. All righty. Yeah, that's it for this. So feel free to grab a cup of something warm. We got coffee, we got hot water for tea next door, and meet us back here at 10:30, about 20 minutes for conscious conversation. But first,
We have a sign-up sheet here for our parking lot sale, June 14th and 15th, with different shifts. We're looking for folks to help out. If you're interested in an hour or two, we have the sheets here, and if you want to bring stuff in as well, we're accepting things. You can contact one of us. There's a flyer here that gives the times that we're receiving things, or you can contact us for a one-on-one receiving.
all right, so if you're returning, we'll see you soon. If you're not returning,
Soul's blessing.
have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll send you off with a blessing.
The other piece is if you're interested in helping create flower pots to be donated, decoupage flower pots to be donated to the micro shelter that's opening at Goodwater. I'll be setting up a time and bringing the pots and all the supplies, and we're looking for the hands of people that want to decoupage a pot and then put it on a front porch of one of the micro shelters.
And people are moving into those micro shelters on July 1,
July
right?
1st, yes. 5 people.
May your soul always find what it's looking for. May your heart always lead the way. May you live in peace and harmony. And may love always fill your day. May your path be strewn with happiness. May success find you everywhere. May you always embrace compassion and grace, and may God always answer your prayer. May you always embrace may God always answer your prayer.
Yay!
Many blessings.
Beautiful
See you
Sunday.
soon.
Or maybe see you back at 10:30.
Are we ready? All right. Pray with me now as we come together on this glorious, splendid morning with love, joy, and fellowship in our hearts for one another. We come to learn new ways of knowing ourselves and being in this world as a divine, individualized expression of the one universal intelligence I call God. We come together to discuss and share our experiences with sacred disruption and its impact on our own lives. Yes. Okay, and we give thanks for this time together in community and for this very space, coming to know ourselves and each other better. We give thanks for the opportunity, the ways and means to expand our space within a new building in the parking lot just below us. And we sit with the joyful expectation while it is being lovingly prepared and generously prepared by so many willing and enthusiastic hands and hearts. We give thanks. We rest in our faith, confidence, and gratitude, knowing all prayer is answered as we release our prayer into the creative process of love and law, the eternal dance of mind, ideas, and manifestations expressing everywhere in divine order and time for our highest and best good. Knowing we are blessed, we call it done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Aho.
Aho.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Satu.
Satu.
Yes.
You go, girls.
All right. I have to admit, when I came up with the idea of sacred disruption, I thought, what people think, that sounds kind of scary. That's kind of weird. You guys cheered, so I have found my tribe. Well, good morning and welcome. Welcome if you're joining us online. My name is Chris Johnson, prayer practitioner here at Mystic Heart Spiritual Center, and happy to be and honored to be in service to you this morning. Mystic Heart is an interfaith community that teaches universal principles and practical spirituality. So we open our doors, our hearts, and our arms in radical welcome, and we know that you will be led to the wisdom of your own mystic heart, which is where your answers lies, because we don't have your answers. We're looking for our own answers. So please join us in musical prayer, energetic musical prayer.
Oh boy, I get to do it today.
Michael, can you mute the podium mic? Thank you. Podium mic loves the tambourine.
Oh, yeah.
So do I.
Welcome to the Mystic Heart. Join the celebration. Lift your voice and sing your part. Make this affirmation. Spirit made us family with loving hearts to share. Together we are joyfully practicing the possible through prayer.
And everything's possible.
So welcome to the Mystic Heart.
I dare ya. Get up and dance, I dare ya.
Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one. One reality. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah, yeah. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Hey, 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 hey. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Woo! All right, you want to live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way.
I feel better. Therapeutic rock and roll.
Yeah.
So I would like to invite you to join me now in the imaginal realm as we engage our divine gift of creative spiritual power to envision and realize a love-soaked world. A world in which all inhabitants of this planet live from our highest potential. From kindness, generosity, peace and compassion, cooperation. In this new world, all people honor and care for one another, for all the life forms that share this beautiful planet with us, and for the Mother Earth herself. We remember that we are connected to all of life, that we are dependent upon the planet to sustain us, and interdependent with one another. By aligning our every thought, word, and action with our vision, we are creating a world in which all people are well fed, have the safety and comfort of a home, and have a deep sense of purpose and belonging. A world in which health, education, and healthy relationships are supported by social systems grounded in integrity, compassion, and wholeness. Valuing every being for its uniqueness, we practice living truly authentic lives where vulnerability is celebrated. There is no need to defend or protect. The work we are doing within ourselves shows up as a world free of hatred and violence. We recognize that abundance surrounds us, Greed is a thing of the past, as generosity flows freely in every direction, and all beings gratefully receive all that is needed to live physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually fulfilling lives. The planet and all of its beings thrive like never before as we learn to recognize the sacred in everyone and in everything, and we walk in reverence and gratitude for all that we have been given. We maintain this vision day by day, moment by moment, breath by breath, and we align our actions with our vision, living these changes first in our own lives, with our families, friends, and neighbors, in our beloved community, in the greater community that expands and ripples out until it includes the entire world. One neighborhood, one community at a time, a new world is being born. And in this process of profound changes, this beloved community stands as an open and welcoming place for all who seek support, belonging, and spiritual family. By the power of our deep faith and inspired action, this prayer is acted upon, answered even as it is spoken, for Spirit knows our heart's desire and intent. And so, in full expectation of its graceful unfolding, we release our prayer with the creative power and intelligence that I call God, and along with me, to the and we let it be, and so let it be. Amen. Closer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Come on, bring it. Bring it. Oh, I invite you to bring your awareness back to the here and now, without losing that. To your body, to the room, to the beautiful life and amazing beings that you're sharing this morning with. And I invite you to take a look around and say good morning to your spiritual family. So this month we've contemplated what it means to create and live in beloved communities. Today at Day's Day, we explored what that community might look like in its active endeavors to create a love-filled world, and how those activities might lead to sacred destruction. So let me do a brief recap, and then we'll jump into conversation. When we started Mystic Heart, we used as one of our guides, we used the book Creating the Beloved Community by Reverend Jim Lockard. And from that model, we came up with our mission, our goals, our purpose statements, and our community agreements. So we're all trying to align that and what it means to be a beloved community. And about sacred destruction, Reverend Jim wrote, calling upon deep spiritual principles which then are ingrained through spiritual practice can lead to destruction. The idea is to disrupt the level of thinking that are currently embodied and create space for a new, bigger, higher, more spiritually attuned level of thinking and belief to emerge. You're all familiar with Einstein's quote, "A problem can't be solved at the same level of thinking that created it." That's the idea. So then we looked at the concept of the prophetic voice as presented by Brother Wayne Teasdale in his book, The Mystic Heart, Discovering a Universal Spirituality in the World's Religion. And one of the 9 essential elements of universal interspirituality that he identified, he calls the prophetic voice. And that refers to spiritual leadership in the area of social justice. Teasdale believes that the prophets of the Hebrew Scriptures gave us a model to follow in responding to injustice in our world. I don't know if you've read the Old Testament, but the prophets were always calling out the leaders on not just straying from the Torah, but also for ignoring the plight of widows and orphans, which the Torah specifically says take care of those things. And we also looked at some of what Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Taoism, and Islam all teach about our responsibility for social justice. And finally, we explored the importance of determining the nature of effective responses to injustice. That protesting the status quo never changes things. That there's no power in standing against something. The universe is not interested in what we don't want. We must stand in support of the greater possibility of our highest vision of what can be. So, does that give us enough to chew on for a conversation? So, everybody here is on the spiritual journey, or you would not be here, right?
Right, yes.
How many of you?
Absolutely.
All right. How many of you have experienced divine disruption in your spiritual journey?
Ding, 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 ding.
Good, it's not just me. You are my tribe. If you're comfortable sharing, how did that show up for you? And how did you respond?
When I first found out, I read Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, and he told us that we were God. And I remember I was born and raised Catholic and went through all the religions that you could look at that were Christian. And I remember being so happy but so guilty at the same time. And then I remember laying in bed thinking, well, did I give up Jesus as my personal savior? Am I going to go to hell? And I remember started crying, and then all of a sudden I realized, my God, I was in hell before, and now I'm not in hell anymore. Why am I trying to dig my way back in hell? And I let it go. And I went, if what I'm learning now and believe in my heart isn't true, I guess I'm going to hell, but I don't think so. And I let it go.
It's okay, all your friends will be there.
I know, but that was it, because that was hard. I mean, my teeth were cut on Jesus, and not that he's not wonderful. I still love Jesus. I just don't think he's the only way to God anymore.
Well, you're in good company, because he was called a blasphemer for saying he was the Son of God,
Right.
that the Father is within me. So,
He even said he was.
and that's what he was setting an example for us. He was not
Right,
saying,
absolutely.
it's me, the Father's in me, not in you. No, he was saying, we're all that, and a bag of chips. But, yeah, it's in every one of us, so. Great. Anybody else? Bren?
I am an energy worker and healer, and I've been called to go so many places. I've been like a gypsy for 20 years, and it's like, you're supposed to go there. I don't want to go there. No, you have to go there. And things just don't work right until I do what I'm supposed to do.
That's a fact. Anybody run up against that where you resist the call and finally you get that cosmic drop kick? We played a song at last Thursday night's meditation by Sister Monica Parker. She goes, "When the Lord is ready, you gotta move." So, yeah, you can resist for a while, but
eventually you'll get swallowed by a fish.
Yeah, that's right. Resistance is futile.
and then spit up on the shore of the place you were trying to avoid going.
Right.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite books in the Old Testament, Jonah. Okay, let's see. Ancient wisdom tells us, as within, so without. So what happens in our outer world of work and relationships when we experience that inner turbulence?
Outer turbulence.
Outer turbulence.
Life doesn't work very well anymore.
What's the first thing that happens, though? We kind of feel unmoored, kind of cut loose, like, oh, well, that didn't work out. What now? So, and sometimes we may have to end a way of life that's not working for us anymore. It may be a job, it may be a relationship. We may change churches. We may any number of things. But sometimes we find we no longer fit where we thought we fit and where other people want us to fit. They get uncomfortable when we start acting weird. So, Mark.
That's right. It's as if the approval that we feed upon that used to come from outside of ourselves, we have to find that within ourselves. And that feels almost like a betrayal. But we go with it, and we finally learn to be more comfortable getting our approval from inside.
Use a strong word, betrayal. Who are we betraying if we're true to ourselves instead of the expectations of others? You know. What was it? Oh, Shakespeare. To thine own self be true, and thou canst be false to nobody else. So, gotta be yourself. Gotta be true to yourself, and then you bring a whole person to your relationships.
Sometimes if you are not being true to yourself, then the disruptions come. And I know I experienced a big one when I finished my ministerial education and then went for licensing and found that, oh, you're not going to license there, you're going to license here, and you're not going to be part of your community you've been with for 26 years. You're going to create this new thing. And I'm like, oh, no. No, that's too hard. But until you do what you're supposed to do, things are not working out very well.
And now you have 2 ministerial credentials for life that don't have to be renewed like licenses do. And you have this beloved community hanging on your every word.
Nope.
We do. We do.
True.
Right.
We do.
That's funny.
We-
Truth being told.
We were
That's funny.
we were privileged. We were privileged to be at CSL Santa Rosa when Reverend Edward was talking one day, and he says, "We've been accused of being a cult." He says, "This is not a cult. If this was a cult, you would do what I say." I don't say they do everything you've done, but so. Oh, it's that.
You got a hand over here.
Oh, yeah. April.
Well, as below, you know, as above, so below, as within, so without principle. I think it also goes to the alignment and balance of all things, right? So if there's inner turbulence inside of me, if I'm not in a place where I am at peace and accepting and in balance in myself, that will be reflected in all of those other areas. So my life will then manifest that way. The universe will then say, yes, you're right. And the earth will respond as well, the earth's energy. And then if I'm in a place of turbulence inside or not accepting of myself, then that's basically what I will see reflected everywhere else. They say what you believe to be true, you will find evidence of. And everything in my life is then going to align with that thing that I'm believing about myself inside. And I don't even realize why everything just seems crappy in life, and that's because I feel crappy inside. And everything answers and aligns, even if you don't know that that's happening. If I say, I'm a terrible person, and then someone treats me bad, well, that's because I'm a terrible person, and now my life looks bad. And but if I know who I am at peace in myself, then I'll find peace in my life and in my relationships and how that works. And coming into next month being LGBTQ plus Pride Month, that's especially an important time for people in our community to reflect and see the journey that we've been on and where it is now, and how do we still feel about ourselves. Maybe we don't express that, but there is still a lot of shame, and there's a lot of things that we don't want to. So we have this month where we can stand and say, this is where I feel safe finally. But it should be like that all the time.
Yeah, it should be.
And for me, with the first thing you said, the religious stuff growing up, I started to go on my own spiritual journey when I got tired of hating myself. When I got tired enough of being told I should hate myself, that I went on a journey to see why. If I should, then there should be evidence that I can't refute that says I should hate myself. And that God hates me too. And I did not find that.
Yeah.
So, so here we are.
You talked about shame earlier, you know, and it's a misplaced shame. It's some shame that somebody else puts on us
Right.
for not doing what they want us to do. But the fact that the shame is misplaced doesn't make it feel any better or go away. We still have to work through that, regardless of whether it's based in anything real or not. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So does sacred disruption call us to disrupt social structures to bring attention to injustices?
Sometimes.
Do tell.
We're hanging on your every word.
Oh.
No pressure. No pressure.
Well, as an example, you know, I have a sense that human beings should never be without homes, okay? We should not have the homeless issue that we have in our country, in our town, in our world. And so that calls me to some action. Rather than just speak about it, it calls me to get involved. Get involved with local shelters, get involved with creating micro shelters, help put my hands and my feet and my back behind what I believe should be happening, and lend a hand in creating the future that I want to see. So and in doing that now, you know, for Reading, the city is not letting that happen easily. So disrupting the social system, the city government, enough to get allowance for these shelters to be built has been a process. So it's getting involved. It's putting your hands and your feet and your action behind your words and your beliefs and your heart to help create change.
That's
To
what I
me,
think,
that's what it
yeah.
means.
I appreciate that. I was thinking of something more disruptive than working towards something good.
That's
I was
pretty
thinking,
disruptive.
what I had in mind was more along the line of during Holy Week when Jesus chased the money changers out of the temple and turned over the cages and let all the doves and rivers free.
He wants Diana to go to the city council to
But
wait
you
and
all-
start swinging.
You also talked in Taizé about how important it is to be for something rather
Yeah.
than against something.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from.
No, I appreciate that.
Standing in the this
She's
is
hanging
what
on
I'm
my every
for.
word. Okay, yeah, Jesus got their attention, but they killed him a few days later. Smart.
Yes, he had to revolt. Revolution had to take place before freedom could be found with an independence. I am, in trying to define what Mystic Heart is about, love the idea of independence, that we're in an independent interfaith group. And that involved some revolution. And Diana's just mentioned how she really came up against the system, found that she needed to, and in fact, she was popped out of that old system into and truly, it was what was meant to be.
Yes.
It was. Even her dean said, I have told everybody in my world that this was not right. But this was 6 months later or so. He says, but now I see why it had to be.
It is right. Yeah.
Because this is where we belong. So, does that revolution have to be violent, though?
Nope. It wasn't.
No, Gandhi proved that.
Yeah.
Gary, you had your hand up?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think there's a lot of, I think it's really easy to fall into the trap of, there's so much wrong in the world that I need to change it all.
Yeah.
Instead of God revealing for you your personal crusade, if you wanna say it.
Yeah.
That you can then put your heart into, because otherwise you're just gonna be exhausted and you're
Yep.
gonna be burned out and you're gonna be discouraged because everything you try is doesn't work, but
Yeah.
I think each of us will have something in front of us that we can basically say, this is my cause, if you will, or this is this is the thing that I want to stand up for. And in the end, that really needs to be something that is, I mean, that you would die for, you know? And,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of things in the world that I wouldn't die for. So, and if I'm trying to make those things happen, then I'm gonna be discouraged and burned out, so.
Yeah, you make a good point. It can be overwhelming to look at the whole, all the change that needs to happen. And it is important to find that one thing that really means something to you and just, you know, have that be your sphere of influence, just that corner of the world. Lucinda? Oh,
Michael.
okay, Michael.
And you know what? It doesn't have to be big issues. It can be you being a loving, kind person to every other person you meet and extending to them courtesy, kindness, love, and that goes so far. And
Yeah.
you don't know that, you don't see that, but it does. It goes so far. And if every one of us did that, hey, there would be no problems to worry about, big or small.
Yeah, there's that old kind of caricature of dad yells at mom, mom yells at the kid, and the kid kicks the dog, you know?
Right.
And that rolls downhill, but so does the kindness, like you're saying, that you
Yeah.
hold the door for somebody, and you don't know what they've gone through. It may be the kindest thing that's happened to them all day, and it takes them out of that funk. Cherie?
I'm so glad you brought that up. I just thoroughly agree with that. But, you know, and having it as a practice all the time.
Yeah.
But especially I've challenged myself when I travel because I've noticed in airports that there's so many people very out of it and
Really.
self-centered into where they need to go or what to do. And, you know, I've done it so many times I could almost write a book of just cool interactions I've had with people. And just to share one, this lady was coming out of the stall in the restroom and I was going in and I saw her looking panicked and going back in and she was older, probably 75, 80. And I said, "Are you okay?" You know, and a lot of people wouldn't even, they would just, "Oh, she's
Yeah.
looking for something. Who cares? I have to go pee," you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, "Are you all right?" And she goes, "Well, I lost my ID." And I go, "Did you have it through security?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Then did you put it in your bra?" And she goes, "Yes!" And I go, "That's where I put mine." Because you're like, you know, you have your purse and everything, they're rushing you through, and I just stick it in my boob, you know. And she does the same thing. And she was like, "Thank you so much," you know. And she might have never found it if someone else came across her path that didn't do weird things like
I
that.
personally would not have.
Yeah.
And it might have been weird if you asked that question.
Right?
Do they just scan her?
Well, mine's a little bit, kind of off of Gary's, and it's that each one of us praying and knowing what it is that is ours to do, but sometimes it takes time. So you get this feeling like this is what I should be doing, but it's just not working out for you to do that.
Yeah.
And you keep, but it's always there in the back of your mind until one day, all of a sudden, now it's time. And this is a reason for keeping up with your spiritual practices and for asking what is mine to do today.
Yeah.
Because that way, when it actually is time, you can say, "I'm ready." And it might feel chaotic.
It often does until you get used to it.
Right.
That reminds me of the quote we had from the Tao this morning. It's that the Tao is like a bow, and when you use a bow, the top is brought down and the bottom is brought up. And the purpose of that is to to self-correct. I thought about this when April was speaking as well. The reason that our outer life looks chaotic or what we're trying doesn't work, it's that self-correcting aspect of spiritual law trying to get us back on track. This is what's mine to do. So, good, thank you. Chris?
Well, I was going to say how that happens is through, we start working through maybe our resistance, and it takes time for all of that to mesh and become the correct tension so that you can, but it doesn't happen overnight for many people. It takes time, and that's where our patience with ourselves and compassion comes in.
Yeah.
I need that patience with myself, especially, because I've resisted. I'm going to try not to cry on this, but I've resisted letting go of certain family members that I just know that are not the best for where I'm at in my evolution, I guess, because I've had to let a lot of those go, but I've resisted. So.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said before, is sacred disruption disrupts our life before it disrupts anything out there. So.
Yeah.
April.
And that's an interesting point, because as we change, things have to change.
Yeah.
And not all relationships, not all other people are going to be on the entire journey with you. And I'm going to speak for ourselves, but there are certain relationships that we, in accepting ourselves and wanting to live in our own place of truth and authenticity, there are some relationships, some people who are not willing to go down that journey with you, and you have to let them go. And it's an incredibly painful thing, but that's why, like, my son is here visiting me, and he is my son 100% from my heart. Did I give birth to him? No. But there's a space in his life where he needed someone who could accept him 100% for him, and that is my son. And but there are times in our community that's very common, unfortunately. That my own birth mother is not willing to be on that journey with me, but because that journey honors me, I had to make that extremely painful decision to cut that relationship off, because it's like continually poisoning yourself and then wondering why you feel sick, And in cutting that off, there's a spiritual principle that I deeply believe in, that something cannot fill a space that is filled. So in removing that relationship from my life, so many other mom figure women have come into my life and held that sacred space for me.
Yeah.
But that did not take place until I made room.
Right.
And that sometimes that thing feels painful when you rip a plant out by the root, but you can't plant anything else in there if that weed is sitting there. And it's something that comes over time with practice, but you gotta do your own healing work and work on that painful thing to release it.
Yeah, we get so caught up in family loyalty, or whatever it is that whatever the Kool-Aid is that we drank in our kids, that we're afraid we can't. It's just wrong to, and that doesn't mean that if that person is in trouble, you don't help. It just means you don't allow that person to invade your life and affect your decision making in ways that are unhealthy for you.
I'd still stop her from being mugged, but we're not going to Christmas.
Right. So, I wonder if that whole notion lends itself to a passage in the Bible that when Jesus said that, I think he was speaking about his blood family, were not my brothers and sisters, but maybe he's talking about those that are on a spiritual path with him, and I don't know, it just came to my mind when this was all being shared.
Yeah, so if you guys aren't familiar with that Bible story, Jesus is preaching, and they say your mother and your brothers are outside. And the fact of the matter is, they thought his cheese had slipped off his cracker, and they were going to do an intervention. And he says, where you know, who are my mother and my brothers? You know, and he says, you are my mother and my brother, because you are my spiritual family. You are my beloved community. These are the people that support me.
Yes, I was
These
just.
are, yeah,
Sorry.
I think he was talking about it. We were born into one family, and then we collect another family around us. And I don't know why that is. I think it's where we were, you know, with the law of attraction 70 years, where I was 70 years ago is different from where I'm at now. And that was the point where all 6 of us crossed paths. And we've all gone different speeds and different directions since then. And I still get along amazingly well with my family, but sometimes we just don't have a lot in common. So, but that's exactly what that story was about. Mark.
Yeah, thanks. Again, it goes back to the approval that we're seeking. We don't need validation from outside, as well, we all do to some extent. But the approval needs to be a personal act of will. And a lot of us, people in general, will stand on the sidelines and not act because they don't want to attract attention and disapproval. But it's an act that I'm speaking of, this independence and all. It's an act of, well, more than faith. It's a conviction that then once you are convicted with these different behaviors that are not exclusionary, they're acceptance, they're from love and all, that once you've done that, it changes the whole quality of your consciousness, and you're no longer in fear and doubt. Yes, that will occur, but generally you've turned the corner, and you're now living a life with love actually being active rather than passive.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to have a saying when I was working with kids on, you know, we had a little problem with bullying on the playground. And I said, there are no innocent bystanders. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to step in and take the bully's punch for the other person, but go get somebody, you know, that can stop that. There are no innocent bystanders. So once we realize that, but you're right, we have to have that conviction within us that this is the right thing to do, or else we don't have the courage to act. So it's that conviction that gives us the courage. So what about the prophetic voice? Is it helpful to call out governmental or societal programs that are systemically unfair? And how do we do that and remain for something and against nothing?
A long time ago, my son was going to peace marches, and he said, Mom, you need to come with us sometime when I go. And I go, I don't want to. And he goes, why? And I go, because I feel that I need to figure out how to be at peace with myself before I go stand up and want peace for everybody else. And he said, but this is for your grandchildren. I go, me healing me is going to heal my grandchildren. And he just, I think now he probably would understand that, but before he didn't. He just thought I was lazy.
Listen to.
Well, I think sometimes we have to do something and be okay with not knowing exactly what happens with it. As I was thinking about when the first time I applied for a master's program and I was turned down, and people were going, I don't understand it. You had the good references, you had better grades than some others that got in, you had this, that. Well, I know what happened is that we had to write an essay about a current thing that was going on that bothered us. And at that time, there was a president who wanted to turn all money that was supposed to be put into social services over to churches to do what they do. And I was strongly against that because the people who needed the help the most would not go to a church to request any kind of aid. And I wrote that in the essay that I wrote, knowing that some of the people who were in the who were going to be deciding on who gets in were going to be reading it. But that was just where my heart was at the time. and things have changed and had changed the next time I applied. But it still goes back to, you have to, no matter what, follow your heart.
Yeah.
And that was following my heart, even though it probably meant I wouldn't get in, and I didn't. But then again, God had other plans for me anyhow, so.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do that and you don't know what happened. Maybe that, what I said, touched the heart of someone there and made changes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. You plant seeds and you don't know which ones are gonna sprout and which ones are not. So, are there go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. I just wanting to speak to the beginning within, and that's definitely true. We need to start with ourselves, but it's also, in my view, it's also important to not stop there and think that that's enough.
Yeah.
Because we can all sit on some high mountaintop and meditate and work on ourselves and come to peace within ourselves, and that does change the overall atmosphere. But it also takes, on this plane of existence, it takes human beings going out there and actually doing the work too. So I would say yes, and that we have to begin within. To take an angry person to a peace march, that's not a thing, right? So yeah, you got to start in here and then know that somebody has to take it forward out into society in order for change to actually occur.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just my view.
Yeah, we talked about swinging between contemplation and action.
Mm-hmm.
Father Richard Rohr's organization is called the Center for Contemplation and Action.
Right.
So it's the yin and yang of
Yeah, it's a balance.
how we are in the world.
I was just gonna say, it's the, oh God, now I forgot. I hate that.
It'll come
It's the Alpha and the Omega. God is both the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning with the thought and then the action to
And
manifest.
the form, yeah, that
Yes.
comes.
So are there
another-
oh,
No, I just wanted, when you started that, you said, is it possible or to stand for something while standing against nothing? And that's been chewing around in my head for a few minutes now, because for me personally, I don't think it's possible to stand against nothing. And, I mean, like Diana's saying, if I went and I sat on a hilltop and I meditated and I found inner peace and my life was happy, and in the village below, everyone was starving and raiders were coming in and killing all the women and children constantly, I think that, yeah, I would have plenty of peace in my life, but am I doing anything in the world? Right? And like, and let's say I had the power to do something about that, but instead I sit in my peace. That wouldn't sit right with me, but standing against nothing for me isn't really a place that I could be in, because there are so many things that I think need action in the world, need the voice, need someone to stand in the in-between, and if you say you stand against nothing, for me, that means I'm kind of agreeing with, by inaction, the things I would see changed.
yeah, that's not what that phrase means.
Well, you know what's
That's
gonna
not what I
happen to
mean
me
by that phrase.
when you say that.
So let me say what I mean. You know, there's a spiritual concept that everything is perfect just the way it is, and there's a lot of things that could be improved upon. And so, it's an orientation, and rather than saying I'm against domestic violence, say I'm for getting stressed out parents the counseling that they need so that they respond more appropriately to their children. Doesn't mean you don't intervene. You just, but you intervene from the standpoint of not because I'm against what the mom's doing or the dad's doing, because I'm for what the kid needs right now. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little tweak in the orientation.
It's
So
shifting
instead of
energy.
so for example, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, or actually it took me until the 80s when I had kids to really. But Many people in my generation, you know, that was the protest generation. We wanted to tear down the system. Sound familiar?
Yes.
But as author Lynn Twist tells us, the job of people who are awake is to hospice the death of the old structures and systems that no longer serve us, while we midwife the ones that will serve us. Hospicing and midwifing are both acts of love. And they are both acts that are aiming toward a positive outcome. So, we don't have to tear the system down, it's tearing itself apart. We see it every day. But we need to lovingly hospice that death rather than, that serves you right, you know, that doesn't, that's not the energy we want going forward, right?
Chris, but the tearing down gives opportunity to rebuild in the vision that you want to see.
That's true. Yeah, the first,
And
go ahead. I was gonna say, the first crew on a construction site is the demolition crew.
Well, I think that what we're talking about, that's one of the reasons why it's so very important to be listening.
To be what?
So, to be listening.
Yes, oh yes.
So that when that little push comes, this is what needs to happen, you're actually aware enough that you can say, okay, I can do that. And it's not something necessarily that anybody else is gonna know anything about.
Right.
You know, it's just, you do that, and again, you're planting seeds.
Yeah.
I think getting back to the being for something and not against something, I mean, it's pretty self-evident in our culture that pretty much most of the energy is going into things that we're against.
Yeah.
I mean, even just voting, people say, I'm voting against this person versus I'm voting for this person. And it's kind of like you say, the system is tearing itself down as a result of that. Culture is tearing itself down as a result of that. We don't need to have putting any more energy into doing that than I think the energy needs to be put into, you know, how am I building up the people around me? Am I, you know, I think you understand what I'm saying. So I think it's really, I'm kind of reinforcing what you said, is that we don't have to put any energy into tearing anything down, because that'll do it itself, its own thing, so.
I heard a wonderful quote, it says, from Thich Nhat Hanh even, it says, impermanence is what makes everything possible.
That's right.
Sheree, and then Diane.
I was just thinking about that same thing of the balance between what you're against and what you're for, and just thinking about how that does guide public policy and the nuance of that. Like even just something like domestic violence, if we're against that, which we should be, then, but our public policy might be, let's punish those people more, you know, as far as more jail time, more, you know, less chances, those kinds of things. But if we're for domestic peace, we might go all the way to high school teaching interpersonal communication and nonviolent communication and giving people the tools to not even get to that point of communicating that way, you know, and really, you know, end that cycle of domestic violence, because they're now more prepared for what that's going to be. And I just think there's a big nuance between that when it really comes down to it.
Yeah, support or punish.
I was just looking at those words, hospice and midwife, too. So what's happening during hospice? We're bringing comfort to the one in need of it. We're bringing love, ideally, support. So in hospicing, what is falling down around us, that's the kind of energy we're being called to by that statement.
Yeah.
Is bringing our love, our support, whoever we can bring comfort to, wherever we can help. And then midwifing, a midwife helps to create a loving, safe, comfortable natural space for an infant to come into, rather than all of the medical things that can happen. So how can we bring that natural, soft, loving space where what wants to happen can be born? So those words, I love those.
I do too,
those
yeah.
words.
The midwife is a lovingly ushers a
Right.
life, a soul into this life,
Yeah.
and then the hospice lovingly ushers them
Yeah.
out.
But both are active roles.
And-
Neither
and-
one involves just sitting. And,
Correct.
yeah.
All right, I'll close with a quick quote by John Wesley, who is the founder of Methodism. He's quoted as saying, "Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can." I love Methodist.
Yes.
Covers all our bases.
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're covered.
Let's do it.
I think it was Arthur Ashe says, "Do what you can with what you have where you are."
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the shorthand version of it.
That'll work.
We don't have to be Gandhi or King or Mother Teresa, but I think we all have something to offer. Anything else your prophetic voice wants to speak into the conversation this morning? Or are you getting hungry for lunch? Okay, well, let's close in prayer. I'd like to close with the same prayer we used in Taizé. It's excerpted from Ernest Holmes' Sermon by the Sea, which he gave at the Asilomar Conference Grounds in the summer of 1959. Find me one person who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of their soul, and I will find another Savior, another Jesus, an exalted human being. Find me one person who no longer has any fear of the universe or God or of humanity or of anything else, and you will have brought me to someone in whose presence we may sit and fear shall vanish as clouds before the sunlight. Find me someone who has redeemed their own soul, and they shall become my Redeemer. There is a power transcendent beyond our needs, our little wants. Demonstrating a dime is good if one needs it, or healing oneself of a pain is certainly good if one has it, but beyond that, at the real feast of the tabernacle of the Almighty, in the temple of the living God, in the banquet hall of heaven, there is something beyond anything that you and I have touched. Find 1,000 people who know that and use it, and the world will no longer be famished. How important it is that each one of us, in our own simple way, shall live from God to God, with God, in God, and to each other. That is why we are here. And we are taking back with us, I trust, a vision and an inspiration, something beyond a hope and a longing, that the living Spirit shall through us walk anew into its own creation, and a new glory come with a new dawn. I give thanks for that day when the new sun rises on a new heaven and a new earth, a love-soaked world in which all beings and all of creation is loved and respected as expressions of their divine Creator. I accept that whether or not I live to see its physical manifestation, holding the vision and working toward bringing the realm of heaven into the experience of all inhabitants of this beautiful planet is work that is mine to do. I am so grateful for all the others who help and support me in this work and on our shared journey. And centered in that gratitude, I leave this prayer on Spirit's holy altar. It is in God's hands, and I know that I am divinely guided as to how I can help facilitate on this physical plane. I see everything from this moment forward as evidence of this prayer being answered. Heaven on earth, world without end. Let it be. Amen. I invite you to return your awareness to this wonderful, wonderful gathering here. And I invite you to join in the celebration of the work we're doing by sharing your financial goods, should you choose to. If you're at home, you can go to mysticheart.org. There's a donate button on our homepage. There's also a mailing address if you'd rather mail a check to us. We also have a gracious giving program for those who would like to make a heartfelt monthly commitment of support. And that really helps us set our budgets and know what we have coming in. And so as we pass the basket, please enjoy this video of the Steve Miller Band doing a rendition of Fly Like an Eagle that you may not have heard. It's from the ASCAP Award concert. And when he says ASCAP, that's the American Society of Composers and Publishers, so he's not swearing at you.
One last song for you. And Jerry, this one's for you. We're going to make you the mayor of Swingtown tonight. Slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping into the future. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I want to fly like an eagle till I'm free, right through the revolution. Feed the babies that don't get enough to eat. Shoe the children with no shoes on their feet. How's the people living in the streets? Oh Lord, there's a solution. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I want to fly like an eagle till I'm free, right through the revolution.
Check it out, ASCAP, listen up. We got to fly like an eagle to the sea, so everyone can be what they got to be. Let freedom ring so everybody can sing the same song. You know we got to get along. You see, we got to be different than before and open the door and change the score, because we're losing our trees, polluting the breeze, infecting the seas, collecting the fees, because it's all about money and we know it ain't funny, because the money ain't spreading around. The rich getting richer, the poor getting madder. The story gets sadder when the pocket getting fatter, and the data keeps coming that we're not getting better. Got to get it right, cause this is not a double header. Got to win the fight, living life to the letter. Got to unite, yeah, we got to stick together and weather the storm of evil and corruption in every form. We got to keep our children safe from harm. See eye to eye, stand arm in arm, yeah, we got to be strong. Got to be fierce if you want to win the battle. Got to be proud, standing tall in the saddle. We got to fly like an eagle to the sea, so everyone can be what they got to be, free!
Into the future. Fly like an eagle into the future. Fly like an eagle into the future. Fly like an eagle into the future. Thank you, everybody. Let's go get some dinner.
That was really good. That was just wonderful. We're all flying like eagles, huh?
Absolutely.
Right. I want to give thanks for these offerings today, both the treasure, the time, and the talent that's being given to this community in support of our new building down there. So to all of you, thank you for those gifts. And it helps us to continue the work to do, and we are grateful, and we appreciate your love and support. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Okay, we invite you now to sing along with the closing song. Love be with you. And let it be.
This is also the last week that there will be plants on our altar, but I still have them at home. So if you haven't gotten all you need and you want any of these, feel free. If you get home and realize that you'd really like something else, call me.
All together, hand in hand, we see the light, we take a stand, and we are changing. A whole new life for you and me. Take your past and set it free and share this blessing. Love be with you, peace enfold you, spirit lift you, breathe it in. Truth come through you, make good flow to you, let joy renew you until we meet again. Love be with you. Ooh, 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 love be with you until we meet again. Love be with you. Love be with you. Now breathe it in. Love be with you. Love be with you. Love be with you. Love be with you. Now breathe it in. Love be with you.
Have a beautiful week. We love you. Join us for lunch if you like.